What is up, my friends? If you are a roller derby athlete coming into the off season, it's here. Are you wondering how to maximize the most of your off season? Are you horrified that you're going to lose all of the skills and things that you've learned this season? Well, don't worry, my friend. That's why we are having this conversation today. I am very excited to spend some time with you guys and really just talk about how do we maximize the off season. I'm going to give you some very specific questions and action steps that you can put into place now to make sure that you get the most out of this epic couple of months of rest and recovery and ready to kick ass again. So, if you are watching live, comment in the chat with you where you are watching from. If you are watching the recording, make sure you type recording in the chat so I know who is on. Okay? That way I know that you watch this. That way I can make sure that if you have any questions, I can help you out. If you are watching the recording or listening to this recording, I encourage you to really playful out with this. The questions that I give you, I encourage you to write them down. Right now, pause me if you're recorded. If you're listening live, just go get it. Go grab yourself a pen and a piece of paper and come back because this is an active session. We're going to be working through how to really level up this off season. It's going to involve some game planning. Now, game planning only works if you actually do it. It's one thing to just listen to a podcast episode or watch a Facebook Live, but if you don't take the stuff that you learned and put it into action, what's the freaking point? Right? So I'm really excited about this one today. It's going to be good stuff. For those of you guys that don't know me, maybe some of you are watching this and you actually are like, who is this human? And you're listening to this like, who is this human? So your first time ever. Hi, I'm Chrissy Crash. I have been playing roller derby since 2006. Before roller derby, I was a smoker, drinker, fast food eating, unhealthy bartender. And I found this sport and it changed my whole life. It turned me into an athlete. It made me want to be a better human. And as a result of that, I have spent the last 18 years helping other skaters do the same thing. And so I'm excited to pass on this knowledge. This is all stuff that I have personally used from off season to off season to off season to maximize my time off the track to ensure that when I come back the next season, I'm not absolutely dying. And the way that this initially came out for me, and maybe some of you are not in your first season and you've experienced this, you get your off season and you're so excited. You're like, yes, this is great. I've got all this time off. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to be a slug. And then you come back the next year and you feel like you are going to die. Your lungs are on fire. It is horrific. And hopefully the year after that you learn and you try to actually do some stuff during the off season. So for me, this is the flow that I go through at the beginning of every off season. I'm going to walk you through it. And this is something that you can take, you can write down, you can keep it for next year, and you can use it forever after. This is also something that I work with all of our clients on in Crash Course, where we help skaters level up, earn their first MVPs, get roster spots, and become incredible skaters. And we work with them on stuff like this because it's important that they understand not just how to be awesome during the season, but really how to level it up all the time. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to maximize your off season. I'm going to give you the questions, the action steps, all that stuff. Now, it might feel a little overwhelming. Okay, so don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. So if you do need more help, I promise I will give you, more ways that you can get support at the end of the episode. Okay, so let's get to it. So, number one, first things first is reflect on this past off season. Okay, and you can pause me to do this. Really reflect on the past off season. What wins did you have? Think about yourself at the beginning of the season, and then think about yourself now. What wins have you accomplished? How have you grown over the course of the last 9 or 10 months? Maybe you made a roster. Maybe you scored some points. Maybe you took the pivot, the jammer star as a pivot. Whatever it is, I want you to write down as many as you can. As many as you can for this season. Things, little wins, big wins, huge wins. It's important that we focus on not just the gap of how far we have to go, but also the gain of how far we've come. The mistake most athletes make is they spend most of their time in the gap, going, I'm not there yet, I'm not yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. And then roller derby stops being fun because you never reach your goals because you always set new goals. But if you make sure that you're spending a lot of time in the gain and seeing how much you've gained, how much you've grown, how much better you've gotten, even in those micro little bits, you actually feel like you're winning a lot more. So it's the mindset that has you feel like you're winning or losing when it comes to this sport. Okay, so that's number one. Reflect on those wins. Pause me, do it. Number two, set goals for where you want to be by the beginning of next season. Okay, rolling into next season, which is about 12 weeks from now, at the point of this recording, 12 weeks from now is February 5th. So 12 weeks from when you're listening to this is probably somewhere February, mid-February. Okay, usually that's when we're starting to roll back into season. So my question is, if you look at your fitness right now, and if you could focus on and work on one or two things, where would you want to be by this point next season? How do you want to feel rolling into next season? Do you want to just be relaxed and gassed and exhausted? Or do you want to be recovered and stronger and motivated, right? How do you want to feel 12 weeks from now? Okay, write it down. Number 4, what skate skills do you need to develop on your own between now and the beginning of next season that you can work on solo? Maybe you're working on transitions. Maybe you're working on apex jumps. Maybe you're working on edge work, on backwards tracking. These are all things that you can work on in very small spaces. One of the things inside of Crash Course in Transformation, we actually have an on-skate skate library that is available for all of our members. And these are all really short videos of different drills that they can work on so that during the off season, they can take those skills that they're working on and really focus on, okay, how do I break down each of those movements? So ask yourself, what skate skills do you need to develop between now and next season that's going to have you leveled up and ready to go for 2025? Okay. The next question is, what fitness abilities? Maybe it's speed, maybe it's strength, maybe it's endurance, maybe it's power, right? What's going to benefit you the most coming into the new year? How do you need to be developing your off skates fitness so that you can be a better skater in the on season? I think this is a really great time of year. If agility is something that you want to work on, this is a super cool time of year to just do 3 days a week of agility drills. Because you're just your body's nice and rested. It's going to be some good endurance. And you'll be amazed what would happen over the course of a couple of months of just focusing on your agility. You will be blown away what happens when you get back on the track. So what off skates fitness do you need to focus on to benefit you on skates in the new year? Number 5, setting up off-season habits and off-season routines. Okay, now one thing for me that I've always had is I have a pretty solid, I learned to develop a pretty solid routine, right? During the season, I have a very specific routine. And the mistake that most people make is they try to do the same routine year round. And that just doesn't work. Usually what works in December and in the winter isn't what works in the summer, isn't what works in the fall, isn't what works in the new year. So you have to know what types of habits and routines do you need to put in place during the off season, right? For some of you, it may be now taking advantage of going to bed a little bit earlier because you don't have practice and having great nighttime routines. For some of you, because you're going to bed earlier, you can now set up some more morning routines, getting up early, getting a couple workouts in, right? Is this a great time to start working on your eating habits because you'll have a little bit more time to meal prep, so coming into the new year, it can be a little bit easier? Right? So what off-season habits and routines do you need to put in place? So for me, right now I live in Costa Rica. My roller derby team is 8 hours away by car and 40 minutes away by flight. So I skate once every couple of months right now. I'm not skating a ton. But what I am doing is I'm surfing a lot. And in Costa Rica, we have a rainy season and we have a dry season. And during the rainy season, the waves are pretty shitty. And so one of the things that I do is during the dry season when it's great, I have a very specific morning routine of waking up, stretching, surfing, going to the gym, getting to work, right? Now, during the rainy season, my first couple of years here, I was like, blah, what do I do? There's no surf. I'm lost. And I had to build myself a rainy season routine. Essentially, I had to build myself an off-season routine, right? So now what it looks like is I wake up, I allow myself to sleep in a little bit, just enjoy that, snuggle my puppies, I take them for a walk on the beach because the waves are shitty, and then I will go lift at the gym or go to spin class, come home, get to work, right? But I had to intentionally have a better routine, okay? And so that's what, a different routine. And so that's what I really want you to get at is you may have a different routine for off season that looks different than the on season, that looks different than the summer. So ask yourself, what would your ideal routine look like during this off season? And what are just one or two things that if you implemented them would make the biggest difference in terms of you leveling up this off season? And just work on those one or two. Okay, you don't have to upheave your entire life. Okay? Number 6, what things are you excited to do and enjoy to do that maybe you don't have time for during the regular roller derby season? This is a really important thing. If you want to be in roller derby for the long term and you don't want to burn out and be exhausted and end up hating the sport, you have to enjoy this break and you have to use this time to do other things. Be a multi-dimensional human. Go hang out with people outside of roller derby. Go do other hobbies. Go skiing, knit. I don't fucking know. But do other things so that when the season comes back around, you're excited and invigorated to start the sport again. Because otherwise you're just not going to last. It's going to be too exhausting. Okay? And then my final question for you, number 7, is who's holding you accountable through the off season? Because it's very easy and it's going to go very fast and it will be very easy to just forget and to do nothing and say, oh, I'll plan this stuff later, right? Maybe right now you're thinking, oh, I'll just write down all those things that she said later. My friend, freaking pause me, rewind me, go back, listen to these and write them down now. You will not do it later. Consider this your first piece of accountability, okay? So who's going to hold you accountable through the off season? Are you checking in with teammates? You know, I know for Crash Course, this is one of the reasons we run one of our biggest promotions and we have one of our biggest enrollments during the off season with Crash Course because we know it's going to benefit people so much to join Crash Course during the off season because that way what happens is they get a couple months of support preseason and then they get a couple months of support during the season during our 16-week program, right? And so that way they are able to build those habits and have the accountability without like praying that they have a teammate that's also going to hold them accountable and praying that they have their shit together. It's like the blind leading the blind, my friend. So who's holding you accountable? Okay. And so as you ask yourself these things, I want you to just consider out of the 7 things that I've just given you, what's one step you're going to take out of listening to this podcast? Pick one. Pick one. If you're watching me live, comment in the chats. If you're listening to the podcast, comment in the comments of the podcast so I know that you're doing it, right? Accountability, I'll hunt you down. And then if you need help with that one thing, and if you need help with going from like conceptualizing this to actually executing it, I'm going to put a link for free strategy sessions in the comments, okay? And what we do on those strategy sessions is we would go over where you're getting stuck, what's getting in the way, and then make a game plan to get past it. Plus, we are launching our biggest end of year promotion this week. If you are listening to this live, this is going to get launched tomorrow. If you are listening to the recording, it's probably already been launched. If you're listening to the podcast, holy crap, make sure you click that button to set up a strategy session because we may or may not have spots left. But we will be giving away, I'm just going to tell you guys, we will be giving away the rest of 2024 for free. So if you apply and get accepted for Crash Course, you will get the rest of this year included in your program, and your 16 weeks for Crash Course won't start until January 1st. So that means even if you totally blew off the first half of the off season and just kind of like got some coaching and did medium, you would still get to start Crash Course on the first of the year, ready to hustle into the 2025 season and start your clock on the 16 weeks then. So maybe if you even like maintained for that first month that you got for free and then you launched into the 16 weeks, or if you kicked ass and you listen to everything that we tell you and you follow the routines we help you set up, holy crap, you are going to be amazed at where you are 20 weeks from now. So imagine getting all that free training included in there. So I will leave a link for that in the show notes. And like I said, the off season is the time where roster spots are earned. Okay? You will earn your roster spot next year through the work that you put in through December and January. Look, you don't have to burn yourself out. You don't have to be going hard 5 days a week, but you do need to be working smarter, not harder, so that you can recharge during the off season and level up and maximize it at the same time. So I love you guys. I cannot wait to celebrate with you as we roll into the new season. And just remember, life is a contact sport. She who touches the most lives wins. I'll see you later.